BTS has an army of fans, but each member also has to enlist in the army, as all South Korean men have to complete mandatory military service, meaning that goes for every boy group member once they become old enough for conscription. In today's Culture Issue segment, we want to look into idols and their 군백기, or military hiatus, as well as their comeback after serving their country. For that, we connect live to Professor CedarBough Saeji at Pusan National University. Professor Saeji, happy to have you again on the program.
Hello, Professor.
Thank you, Soa. Thank you, Walter. Good to see you.
Good to see you. So let's start with the second enrollment into the military by an NCT member just last week. And that enrollment means the group is in what we call a 군백기, right?
Yeah, Jaehyun just started his service. He's actually going to be serving in the military band. I'm sure you might think, like, why can't all K-pop stars go in the military band? Well, they actually do have to audition, and the military band doesn't really do pop songs as much as it does, well, both military music and sort of standard Korean, classic songs. And there's also one part of the military band that's for traditional music. So you actually need to have some really serious musical qualifications in order to pass the audition. And so Jaehyun has gone into the military band, and I'm sure that'll be a great experience for him. NCT's military hiatus period will be a little different than some groups because, as you know, they have a lot of foreign members. So the different NCT subgroups will always have quite a few people available to participate in various activities, and therefore the interruption should be a little less than it is for some groups. Of course, I know that everybody is really missing Taeyong because as the group leader, with him gone, NCT has felt just a little bit empty.
We can say so. So we're also going to expand on that military band aspect in a bit. But first, despite their temporary parting from the other members and their fans, the term 군백기 does not evoke feelings of dread as much as it used to in the past. Why is that?
Well, I mean, even today, the hiatus still causes an idol to lose fans, sort of just naturally. But the military service has gotten shorter than in the past. It's now only a year and a half for the Army, which is the most common type of service. And also fan bases are a lot bigger than they were in the past. And so that has meant that a smaller percentage of the fans are actually lost. But kind of, in my opinion, the most important shift that's happened is that when first idol groups were debuting, like, HOT and SES, then everybody thought idol pop is marketed to tweens and teens, and the fandom's going to disappear when the fandom gets older. But now we've learned that a core group of fans will stay with their idols as the fans and the idols age. And so it's become possible to find people who continue to be active, very, very good fans in their 20s, 30s, 40s, and beyond. And so companies and idols now have a much longer term vision. So they plan for surviving the military hiatus, whereas in the late 1990s or early 2000s, it was almost accepted that most groups would not be able to get through that period. And so now we have all these elaborate strategies. How do we keep the fan love through this period? Do we try to make everybody go at once? Do we try to stagger it? In addition, there have also been some very important reforms in the military. There was some bullying scandals and things like that in 2014. And after that, military service has become a little bit less onerous, and there's more connection between people serving and the outside world than there was in the past, when stereotypically you just wrote letters to people.
Right. Growing together with your stars. I like that part.
Exactly. And keeping to the theme of core fan base, we've got to talk about BTS a bit more and how much they have a core fan base. And they seem to be proof that an 18-month hiatus is not having any effect on their popularity. The boy group now has 2 members discharged from the military, and they're doing fantastic. I mean, Jin's song I'll Be There is setting new personal records, isn't that correct?
Yeah, BTS, they just have an exceptionally large number of fans who have never stopped celebrating BTS during this time. And also, BTS had a very significant body of work that fans could continue to engage with, like watching the old Bangtan Bombs and Run BTS and BTS in the Soup and listening through all the albums and all of that. But most significantly, and this is really unlike groups in the past, BTS members prepared a lot of releases during their service, which even though they weren't appearing on music shows and they weren't giving interviews to promote the music, they still managed to chart very well due to the love of BTS Army. Honestly, I have no idea how they found time to prepare everything in advance of going into the military. It must have been so hectic for them. But yeah, Jin's I'll Be There had a great debut on Billboard. It hit #1 world digital song sales and #10 on global, excluding the US. Rosé's song is currently #1 and Jenny's is #6, just in case you wanted to see how Kpop was doing on the chart in general. Yeah. It's doing really well. People are so excited about this new track.
So very strategic. Just briefly, what can we expect about J-Hope's activities in the near future? Because he just came out from the military.
Well, he's been kind of keeping things under wrap. We do know that he went to LA almost right after getting out of the service, and we know that that was connected to some work that he was doing. But all that we've been able to see online is some cute Instagram posts where he has shared a little bit of the fun that he's having and some nice meals that he's been able to eat while he has been in LA. So I'm hoping for new releases because J-Hope's my bias, and each of his solo releases has just gotten better and better. I mean, Arson is still a song I listen to almost every day.
I'm glad we asked you that question, Professor. But we also have a very important question now to ask you, right?
Yes, for some male K-pop acts, the military break can, work in their favor, interestingly enough. And some even take it as a fresh opportunity for their creative talents. Can you maybe give us some examples of that?
Well, one of the examples that I've been using recently when I present and I show like in PowerPoints and stuff like that when I'm talking academically is how ONF has managed to sort of attract new attention in the military, some very popular stages that they had that went viral. But some other examples, for example, Day 6, they write all their own music, and they talked about how they used their time in the military to consider what they wanted to say on Forever, the EP they released earlier this year. And Forever was very, very successful. But people were waiting for them to leave the military because while they were in the military, they performed their 2019 song on Immortal Songs, on the military edition of Immortal Songs. And their 2019 song, You Make Me, all of a sudden went back onto the charts, even in 2022. And similarly, we just saw something like that happen with Ooze. He went on the 2024 military special of Immortal Songs, of course, under his legal name, Jo Seung-yoon, and he performed Drowning in Uniform, and the song just popped back onto Melon and shot up the charts and has continued to do really well in the last couple of weeks since that performance.
Right. And last but not least, Professor Saeji, we have Monsta X also having 2 members completed their service last month, but 3 have yet to be discharged and 1 still has to enroll. So in this case, in the case of such groups, how do you have one recommendation for them to, effectively use their time?
I do think that an idol career is incredibly intense. And so my #1 hope is that while these young men go to the military, they actually get a chance to just be a person, not a celebrity, that they can get some more sleep, make some ordinary friends. And I think military service can give some space to consider carefully what you want to do with your future. And I think that Monsta X has had various challenges, and they seem to continue to produce absolutely amazing music that people really enjoy, both as solo artists and as a group. And so I'm confident that they'll be able to get through this extended military hiatus period successfully.
That was some very heartwarming advice for the groups. Thank you very much, Professor Saeji, for your insights today.
Well, thank you. Have a good rest of the day.
And that brings us to the end of Monday's edition of the Culture Wave. Thank you, Walter, as always. We'll see you back on Wednesday.
So happy to be back and see you on Wednesday.